I guess I have the menagerie here, at least part of it. She's determined that she wants to sit here. So, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but my cat is right here. So, this is Dudes Day, all dudes all day. All of the spirits that are going to be in these videos are going to be gentlemen. And so we're starting off with this doll right here. It's got a velvet jacket. It could use a good lint rollering, little dusting on the face. Otherwise, it's in really good condition. The story behind this doll is I actually received it from another client. There had been another spirit attached to it. We had to take care of that spirit, and she decided she didn't want this doll in her house, so she sent this doll to me, and it's been sitting here for a while. And so I decided, okay, you know, we have to clear things out, so let's go ahead and see if somebody wants to attach to it. And I do have somebody that wants to attach to it. So let's talk to that spirit. First of all, his name is Sam. Sam is 75. He does present as an elderly man. And he does, in a way, look like this doll. He's tall and skinny. One moment. This one's fussing again. Alright, so what's your problem? Oh, is that what your problem is? Well, why do you keep making messes? I mean, you just make mess after mess here. Am I your maid? Oh, you stop that. Or you're going to get medicine. Alright, you come here. And then you go on your side. And I want you to be quiet. You stop that. Okay. So Sam is tall and skinny. And he's a little stooped over. He wears a white shirt. And it does kind of look like the tweed trousers. So he does have a white shirt and tweed trousers. And it's a white short sleeve shirt. And he's got the white undershirt underneath it. His hair is parted to the side. He's clean shaven. He doesn't have a lot of wrinkles, so I'm guessing he was probably not a smoker. No, he was not a smoker. He's showing me images of him as a kid, and he had like the shirt and the jacket and the vest, and he had like knickerbockers. If you don't know what knickerbockers are, like Google that. And he had the newsboy hat. So I want to say that was probably what, around the turn of the century, turn of the 20th century. So when were you born? He was born in 1898. Did you say Lawrence, Massachusetts? Okay. So you're a masshole like me. There we go. Okay. Now, did you stay in Massachusetts your entire life? No. Oh, you worked on the railroad. Okay. What did you do on the railroad? Did you, so you wrote, did you ride on the trains? Because I see you, like, traveling. Was that like an engineer type of position? But you weren't driving the trains. But you were on the train, but you weren't driving the train. So they basically had. So you were like walking, so you would walk back and forth across the train checking all the couplings and everything? Okay. So you crisscrossed the United States. Okay. He finished his life in Ohio, he's saying. He lived in Ohio. He spent about, he said 8 years in Baltimore. And then he was transferred. I mean, that's where, I mean, he rode the trains. He was like constantly riding the trains. But where he lived, his home base, his like home station, was out of Baltimore for 8 years. And then he was transferred up to Ohio. And then he finished in Ohio. Then he remained in Ohio until he died. Did you marry? That's he married, but he didn't spend a lot of time with his wife because he was always like riding the trains and stuff. Um, did you have any children? He had 2 children. He said he had 2 children with his wife when things were good with his wife, but because he was gone for so long, you know, his wife wasn't happy about that. Did you end up Yeah, they ended up divorcing. Hey, calm down. Calm down. Sit still. So, what is it that, why did you remain behind? What happened that made you stay here? So it was kind of like a cats in the cradle type of thing? Okay. Because he was gone so much, he obviously didn't spend a lot of time with his children. And he had 2 sons. And was it the younger one or the older one? It was the younger one that he stayed behind for. The older one kind of took on the responsibility of the house, being the man of the house, because because Sam wasn't there. And so the older one was responsible, was okay, but the younger one ended up with a lot of trouble. Now, what kind of trouble are we talking? We talk about drugs. We talk about running with the wrong crowd. Did your son have developmental difficulties? So I don't understand what kind of, because I'm not really getting anything out of him. He just said that his son. Is it just that you don't want to tell me? Is it because you feel guilty? Okay. Listen, we all understand that, you know, especially in this day and age when it's so hard sometimes to earn a living, you know, with a job. Even if you do have a college education, you can still get so far behind. You know, I don't think anybody here is going to hold anything against you. Why don't you tell me what it is, what the problem is that you felt was wrong with your son? No one's going to blame you for going out and having to work away from your home to make money to support your family. Okay. Okay. Did he ever try anything then? He did. Oh, okay. Okay. And because there was a huge stigma on that in your day, right? Okay, yeah, there isn't that type of stigma anymore. There's more sympathy about that and more awareness about that. So you don't have to be ashamed about that. He told me that his son suffered from depression. Was it just depression? It was just depression. Okay. His son suffered from depression. He was probably bullied in school. Yeah, and his son suffered from depression, and that's why I asked if he ever try anything. And apparently, he was not only acting out, but he actually did attempt to commit suicide. He did. Okay. And they did end up putting him in a hospital. Now, in those days, what year are we talking about when you had to put him in? 1943? How old was he at that time? He was 28 at that time. Okay. So he had been acting out like all this time. He had problems all this time, and then when he was 28, was that the first time? So the first time he tried to take his life was when he was 28. And keep in mind, and even all the way up to the 90s, I mean, what I went through, it's still, I mean, granted, it's not as barbaric as it used to be. They're not performing lobotomies anymore, or, you know, ECT, but, I mean, it created PTSD in me that I still have to this day. So, it's still not the best place to be. And, back in the 40s, it was, I mean, it was slightly better than it was at the turn of the century. And I say slightly with just a of sarcasm. So once you got to that point where you went into those hospitals, you pretty much never ever came out, because your mind was so warped at what you saw and what you experienced and what you went through, you couldn't adjust to society anymore. I mean, you know, I have mild PTSD. I can't imagine the type of PTSD they suffered through. You know. And then the stigma on top of that. So that is why he stayed. So did your son come out? I didn't think so. I'm assuming your son has died since then. That's what I thought. So the son died in 73, he says. And, now did he die before or after you? So you died, and then how long after you died? It wasn't very long. So 8 months after he died, the son died. Now, did he die of natural causes? He said yes and no. And the reason why he said no is just because all the stress and the treatment that he received, just, he says, you know, no one killed him or anything, but, you know, it was a combination of everything that he had been through for the past 30 years. That's his belief, that all the stress that he went through over the past 30 years, it just did him in. He said, but it wasn't like during a treatment or anything like that. And your son had a heart attack. Yeah, like what, 58, 59? Yeah. Stress would do that. So now, did your son ever cross over? So your son, did he cross over immediately? So you went to stay with your son to watch out for him, and then he crossed over immediately. And then what happened to you? Did you stay? You stayed in the asylum? Oh. He said he was... He said he wanted to see what they were doing to other patients there. And the more he saw, the angrier he got. And he said he became vengeful against the doctors that were there. And he would try to... Any doctors that... Sorry, it's nice out and I have my windows open and we are in a locked community and this is what they do to get in. Wait until this is done. Okay, I think it might be safe to continue. So anyway, what Sam was saying is that any of the doctors that were doing questionable techniques or were mistreating the patients, he would he would go after them. So you're kind of like the spirit of vengeance against anybody mistreating another person. Okay. So when did you finally leave? He left the place about 10 years ago. Now, had this place been shut down? So they did shut it down. Were you still there after they shut it down? He said, where was I to go? So, what made you leave after 10 years? He said there was nothing left for me there. So where did you go? Where have you spent the last 10 years? He said he's just been wandering around for the past 10 years looking for a purpose, he said, looking to figure things out. So you don't want to cross over. So you want a purpose here. So you want to keep on being a protector. He says, that's what I do and that's what I know. So you want to be a protector for somebody. Now, do you want to be a protector against physical humans or against non-physical humans, or both? He said both. So you want to be like a guardian. Okay. So how medieval did you get on these doctors? So you didn't physically attack them. You just made their lives a hell of a lot more difficult. Okay. When I asked him, he said bastard sons of bitches. And he showed me that he trashed their office. Now, did you ever follow them home? So you would do stuff to their home as well. Now, did you do anything that would kill them, or no? He won't go that far, but he will sort of like poltergeist type activity against somebody. He'll take things, he'll hide things, he'll trash a room, he'll do that sort of thing. Now, what about, did you ever have to defend anybody against non-physical humans? You did. So, no surprise, there were other spirits that were at the hospital. And he said there were a few good people that worked there, like that really cared, that really tried to shield patients, defend patients, help patients. And he said, you know, there were some spirits that even in the afterlife still have that problem, because they whether they realize that they've crossed or they haven't. If they had realized that they had passed on, that they had crossed, then they would have been able to let go of the deficiencies that they had in life. But they were still in like their death state, and they didn't let that go. So they still had like that dementation, and they would then try to attack just about everybody, and he would intervene and keep them from doing that. I mean, he's showing me he was in a physical struggle with these other spirits to keep them from doing that. And he would hold them down until they stopped. So he does have that experience. Stop this now. Alright, is there anything else that you want me to talk about? Did I miss anything? Is there anything else you want to say? No. Okay. You're all done? You're all done. Okay. So that's Sam. Sam wants to be a guardian spirit for you. And Sam obviously will be up on the witchery for about a week, and then he will transfer to eBay. And if you are interested in Sam, like any item that's up on the witchery, if you don't have the full payment right now but want to reserve him, we can work out an installment plan. Just email me at salemole.com, and that is going to be it for Sam and I will see you guys in the next dudes video. Thanks for watching.